All right, do you believe the Detroit Lions blew it already by taking TJ Hockenson over Ed Oliver and Devin Bush? It's totally subjective. It's totally somebody's opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section before the video play, after the video play. But let me talk about it. Obviously, I think it is premature. But one thing you got to look at is the situation that the Lions are in. Defense is dead last, or close to dead last in the National Football League. Going into the draft, they had needs at linebacker. I mean, I don't think anybody respects our linebacker core as starters. Okay. And one of the problems with the Lions is they never complete anything. I remember I used to watch the cartoon Jimmy Neutron growing up, and he had a nemesis. I forget the dude's name, but he never completed anything fully. It's the Detroit Lions. They never completed an offense, and completing offense don't mean you got to go out there and put Larry Allen, Tyron Smith, and a all-pro line, and you need Barry at quarterback and Barry at running back and Peyton at the quarterback, and you need Randy Moss and Jerry Rice out there and Wes Welker in the slot. Doesn't mean you have to go out there and make a powerhouse squad. You know, what completing a football team is making sure it's complete. You know, just making sure, you have it's solid. And the only thing the Lions have completed the last few years, this decade is probably the defensive line. When they had Ndamukong Suh, Fairley, Cliff Averill, Van der Bosch, eventually Zeke Ansah, excuse me. But then again, Nick Fairley was never healthy. And once again, Bob Quinn failed to complete anything. And going into the season, they had a glaring need at defensive tackle. They already knew, okay, we might bring Ricky Jean-Francois back, whatever his name was, to patch that up. He took a tight end knowing that he just poured, $23 million, whatever it was, into Jesse James. They like Logan Thomas. Obviously they gave up on Ebron a little bit prematurely, which obviously I didn't think was going to work here. So he still took the tight end. He evaluated him as a football player, as a blocker. One thing he did underestimate was the guy that wasn't the starter. He was the number one tight end in Iowa. That was Noah Fant. And Noah Fant is not, tearing it up. And historically, again, rookie tight ends take time to develop. Year 2 or 3, you really know what you got. Look at Evan Ingram. He hasn't been able to stay healthy, but eventually he should turn the corner. O.J. Howard, he ain't really done much. A lot of people in Detroit wanted O.J. Howard the year he came out. What is he doing? David Njoku in Cleveland. He really hasn't progressed. He's been injured this year, but he hasn't progressed from year 1 to year 2. Or I think he might be going into year 3 this year, or maybe year 3 next year, but he hasn't really progressed. And the tight end position is a tough position to ask for somebody to contribute right away. So when you draft a guy based on potential, and say, well, I'm looking forward to him cashing in later, and you got glaring needs, the Lions got a need at defensive tackle. The Lions had needs at linebacker. As much they must be in love with Jared Davis. We ain't watching the same film, because Jared Davis is an abysmal linebacker. I'd have been cut him. He like 2 or 3 steps behind Teez Tabor as a football player. It's not good. Christian Jones, I never noticed him make a play. Devin Kennard, they hired on him than I am. I mean, since the Arizona Cardinal game, I don't remember him making a major play. I could be wrong. So, what brings me to this, the next 2 picks that went after Hockenson were 2 great rookies so far. And, it may turn out that Hockenson may be better players than both of them down the line. But Devin Bush, who's a local guy, and you're talking about Ed Oliver, who from Houston, who definitely would have been the perfect running mate to go with Damon Harrison and Deshaun Hand. Even if Deshaun Hand wasn't healthy, him and Deshaun Hand are very, very similar. They both can play out the defensive tackle position. They both can play the defensive end position. You would have had 2 premium, 2 premium versatile football players. 2 of them. You would have had 2 fast twitch guys that can play on the inside and play on the outside defensive end. So imagine eventually next year you trotting out Ed Oliver, Deshaun Hand, Harrison, and Trey Flowers. That line dope. That line super dope. And your calling card is defense. And yet again, we take another tight end that wasn't a starter. So if he wasn't a starter in college, there's a reason for that. And the guy ahead of him, he doing better than him. And he doing like just as equally as bad. So are the Lions building towards the future? Because they didn't pour so many assets into Matthew Stafford. You know? From Jones, from Golden Tate, from Calvin Johnson, even though he was already here, to Galladay, to Ebron and Pettigrew before him. And, you know, the whole offensive line was brand spanking new. And Bob Quinn misevaluated. Over the years, they took more linemen and it still hasn't panned out. Not necessarily Bob Quinn, but they took a lot of linemen. The dude that ended up from Duke that ended up Laken Tomlinson, Riley Reef, Larry Warford, you know, now Taylor Decker, Graham Glasgow, Frank Ragnow, free agency, Rick Wagner, TJ Lang. The Lions they put more assets into the offense than anything, and they still can't run the ball. Running backs, Amir Abdullah, you know, Kerryon Johnson, Tyler Johnson, Ty Johnson, whatever his name is. You know, imagine adding Ed Oliver to that line. Next year, you trotting out Flowers, Oliver, Hand, and Harrison. Imagine you adding Devin Bush out there with Jelani Tavai. Your linebacker short, if you believe Tavai is as good as you think he is, your linebacker core is shored up for the next 10 years, God willing. You got problems covering at the linebacker position, Devin Bush got you. You got a problem creating pressure up front, Ed Oliver would have changed that. Hockenson would even receive for 362 plus yards this year and only 2 touchdowns, and you already out. Not saying that it's the end all be all. I think Hockenson's still going to be a good player. I think he hit the weight room. I think he learned, you know, the line audibles and the route audibles. Him and Matthew Stafford, whoever the quarterback, could grow better. But at the same time, one thing I'm going to talk about the Pistons next. One thing I don't understand about the Lions and the Pistons, and I don't cover the baseball draft or the hockey draft, so I can't speak on that, is that these are teams that continue to repeat history. They continue to draft off potential. Darko Milicic, potential. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, potential. Hockenson, potential. Ebron, potential. They continue to Sayoko, potential. Both of these franchises continue to draft for the future. And when the future get here, 9 times out of 10, the potential never reach the pinnacle that it should, because the organization ain't strong enough to nurture that potential to grow up. You know what I'm saying? These are two teams that's every year or every now and again they end up drafting for potential. And potential never come. They never sit here and say, let's take the best ready available right player. No, we gotta take him. We can do this with him and do that. Oh, we gonna send him to the G League, or he gonna ride the bench for a minute. Oh, we drafted, Ragnow to be a center, but we gonna play him at guard. That's potential too. You draft him off, but potentially he'll grow into a good center, and he has. Sometimes it pay off, sometimes it don't. But my personal opinion, I think this year that Ed Oliver and Devin Bush would have had a bigger impact. But who's to know? Patricia would have fucked them up too. Excuse my French. Patricia would have messed them up too. Put them in the defense that didn't fit them. But that seemed to be a Patriot narrative. And I'll talk about that for a minute with Minka Fitzpatrick. I just seen a little special on ESPN with him talking about how Brian Flores didn't put him in a position that he wanted to be in as a safety, and he left. Same thing with Quadre. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Premature, I think it is. But hey, let me know what you think about Hockenson. Should they took somebody else? Don't forget me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Reach out to the email if you got business, question, inquiry, sponsorship, video request. Want to make a donation? That link's in the description. Best way to donate is share the video. Check my other channel out, Goodfellas Sports TV, for more sports, music, and entertainment and current news. One time for the one time. It's your boy CJ Goodfellow. More C Sports Talk. We gone.